back to another edition of Sarah's Science Classroom. I'm Sarah Spivey, and today we're talking about seasons. Start off this edition of Sarah's Science Classroom, I thought I would highlight a really neat picture done by Gidget. Gidget is 5 years old and loves the weather. Here's a look at that picture. She made a wonderful big tree. The tree is fueled by the sun, and inside the tree you can see raindrops which help feed the tree, and it's a windy day, so she drew really cool lines of the wind. So if you want to send in a picture to Sarah's Science Classroom, go ahead and email me at spivey@ksat.com. Let's go ahead and talk about the seasons. All right, our Earth is a wonderful, super exciting thing. Weather changes all the time on the Earth, and a lot of the reason for that is the seasons. So today I thought we could talk about days and seasons and how that works. So here's a picture of our Earth. Something that you need to know is that the Earth spins in the middle on an axis, and that axis causes there to be day and night. The dark half, which does not get the sunlight, is called the night, and the light half that gets the sunlight is the day, and a day lasts 24 hours here on Earth. But if we just had an axis and no tilt, that would mean we wouldn't have any seasons. Now the Earth tilts on its axis at about a 23.5-degree angle, and that tilt makes all the difference in the world and makes everything exciting for us and creates the seasons. Now, I said that the Earth rotates on its axis, but another thing the Earth does is it revolves around the sun. And it revolves around the sun in 1 year. That's what we call a year. And we measure time on Earth in the form of years. One cool way to figure out how many times you've gone around the sun or revolved around the sun is how old you are. I've revolved around the sun for almost 30 years, but my cat, Nora, has only revolved around the sun for about 4 years because she's only 4 years old. How old are you? That's how many times you've revolved around the sun. Whew, now I got a lot of cat here. All right, so let's talk about how when the Earth revolves around the sun and the axis of the Earth tilts, that results in seasons. First, we're gonna start with summer in the Northern Hemisphere. The Northern Hemisphere is where we live in the United States. Now, south of the equator, the seasons are completely opposite of what we're experiencing in the United States. So for people who live in Australia or South America or even Antarctica, the seasons are completely opposite from us. We're starting with summer here in the United States and in the Northern Hemisphere. That's when the Earth's axis tilts toward the sun in the Northern Hemisphere, and the sun doesn't have to work as hard to send sunlight to the Northern Hemisphere. The days are longer and the days are warmer, and that's when it becomes hot outside and we experience summer. Meanwhile, those living south of the equator in the Southern Hemisphere experience cold weather and they experience winter. Now, as we go through time, after summer, it starts to get a little cooler outside because the Earth's axis in the Northern Hemisphere starts to tilt away. But when the Earth's axis is exactly aligned, that's when you have equal time of day and night around all of the world. And so at that point, when we're cooling down a little bit in the United States, that's when we experience fall. That's when the leaves start to change color and fall from the trees, and that's when we also Ooh, get Halloween. Okay, but it gets even cooler because then in the northern hemisphere, the Earth's axis is tilting away from the sun. That's when it gets colder in the northern hemisphere in the United States. That's when the nighttime gets longer, and that's when we experience winter and cold in the air. Some places get snow, not so much here in San Antonio, but elsewhere there's snowfall around the winter time, and that's when we celebrate holidays like Hanukkah and like Christmas, and when we celebrate the new year. Meanwhile, in the southern hemisphere, that's when it's the warmest. So when we're enjoying a hot cup of cocoa by the fire in the winter time during Christmas, they're going to the beach in places like Australia in the summertime. Then we slowly start to warm back up again, and the Earth's axis tilts right up. That's when we warm up from the winter time in the northern hemisphere, and things start to grow and blossom, and we start to see flowers. That's the springtime here in the northern hemisphere, but the fall in the southern hemisphere. Then it warms back up, and we're hot again once the axis tilts toward the sun, and it's summer once again. So that's a quick look at the seasons. Again, the revolution of the Earth around the sun and the tilt of the axis makes things exciting and gives us lots of different weather.